Hi students, we will be starting today with a very important topic in chemistry 11 standard, that is called structure of atom. This topic is quite important from your 11th and 12th standard point of view, and even more important for different kinds of entrance examinations. There are around 7 units in this chapter. So the first very easy unit we are going to do it today. It is about the knowledge of atom and the subatomic particles. We know very well from our school level what is an atom, and the most modern definition of atom is it is the smallest particle of an element. There are some other definitions usually learned in school level, but they are now all outdated, and we only stick to this definition. The oldest information about atom was given by John Dalton in 1809. It is now termed as Dalton's atomic theory. The different points, which are called postulates of this theory, go like this. The first postulate says matter is composed of indivisible particles known as atoms. The Greek meaning of this word atom is indivisible particles. So, Dalton's time it used to be thought that atoms cannot be broken, which today we know that it's a wrong information and we can actually break down atoms also. Another point about the theory is all the atoms of a given element must be exactly equal, or as he says, they must have identical properties. Atoms of different elements will be different, and when they will combine in a fixed ratio of whole numbers, compounds will be formed. For example, if I take two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen, hydrogen and oxygen are in the ratio 2 is to 1. So they will form a fixed compound called H2O, that is water. When we carry out any chemical reactions, they are nothing but reorganization of atoms. According to Dalton, atoms are not created, neither they are destroyed. They just get reorganized from reactants to form products. As we know, fundamental particles of atom are three, that is electrons, protons and neutrons. We must know their basic properties and we must know even their property values by heart. For example, electron's mass is 0.00055 unified mass. Proton's mass is 1.0073 and neutron among them is the heaviest 1.0087. The charge on the electron is 1.602 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. This particular charge is considered as minus 1 unit charge. Proton also possesses same amount of charge, but its sign is exactly opposite. So the charge is given as plus 1 unit. Neutrons do not possess any charge, so their charge is taken obviously 0. Considering the charge and mass, the symbol is written as minus 1 E0, where minus 1 is the charge written at the bottom. The index 0 is the approximated mass of electron. Similarly, proton's charge is plus 1, symbol is P, and the mass is 1. Neutron's charge is 0 and mass is approximated to 1. That is why it is written as 0 and 1. For most of the numerical problems and for several other things, you must know all these values by heart. How these particles were discovered historically. The oldest discovery is the discovery of electrons, which took place through the discovery of cathode rays. The cathode rays are produced from cathode of a discharge tube, and They move away from the cathode at right angle. That is why they are called cathode rays. This is a roughly schematic arrangement of a discharge tube which produces cathode. You can see in the diagram that there is a long glass tube taken which is approximately 50 centimeter long, and two electrodes are placed at extreme ends. One which is connected to the negative terminal is called cathode. One which is connected to the positive terminal is anode. In this tube, gas is filled or air is filled at extremely low pressure. Now, very high voltage is supplied between these two electrodes such that the cathode rays are produced from cathode and they travel in straight line towards anode. The original tube which was used by J.J. Thomson in his discovery looked like this. You can see quite a similarity in the schematic diagram. Only thing in the photograph here, the greenish colored tube, greenish colored light which you see is imagined to be cathode ray. Studying the properties of cathode rays, J.J. Thomson discovered about electrons. These properties which I am discussing right away, they were not discovered by J.J. Thomson. They were found by different other scientists which was together taken as properties of electrons later on. Very first property is cathode rays travel in straight line from cathode to anode. Cathode rays can produce mechanical effect. Now what is a mechanical effect? If cathode rays are traveling and if you keep a very small metal wheel, very lightweight metal wheel in the path of them, the metal wheel starts revolving around itself. This is something like a wheel taken in a wind, and due to the wind the wheel starts moving. Same way mechanical effect can be seen. Cathode rays are invisible, but if they allow to attack on the zinc sulfide screen, then they can be detected, because when cathode rays strike on the zinc sulfide screen, fluorescence is created. So due to the fluorescence position, they can be detected. Cathode rays once travel through a tube. The tube becomes extremely hot. That is called heating effect of the cathode rays. Cathode rays of certain energy, if get bombarded on another metal surface, from the metal surface, X-rays are produced. In fact, the discovery of X-rays took it in this manner using cathode rays. Cathode rays are so energetic that they can pass through thin sheets of aluminium also. A different property or a very important property of cathode rays which finally led to the discovery of electrons is this way, that cathode rays produced from any material will always have a constant value of charge and mass. Charge upon mass ratio is always going to be constant for any cathode ray. This will not depend upon the gas used in the tube. J.J. Thomson measured E by M ratio using this following experiment. You can see J.J. Thomson with his own famous the tube of cathode rays by which he found out the charge ratio. Now what is charge and mass ratio and what is Thomson's experiment? Thomson's experiment for E by M can be imagined like this. He took a cathode ray tube over here. Now in this diagram you can see this small one is the cathode ray tube, not the entire outer cover. Now in this outer glass cover at the end, he kept zinc sulfide coating. Now through cathode ray tube, rays were produced. Imagine they are traveling in this way further and they will hit over here at this point where phosphor is shown. In his first part of the experiment, there is no electrical or magnetic field produced. So The cathode rays travel straight in the line as shown in the diagram. Now, in the second set of experiment, he applied electric field and the same cathode rays started going deviating towards the positive plate. So you can imagine earlier diagram, they were going straight and hitting over here. Now, if electric field is applied, you have a positive plate here and a negative plate here. Cathode rays travel straight line, and when they come near electric field, they get deviated ahead. Similarly, magnetic field was applied and they could see a deviation towards point C. Now in this diagram, you can see all the effects drawn together. In reality, they are done in a separate way. For example, straight path is point number B when no field is applied, point number A when electric field is applied, and point number C when north and south pole, that means magnetic field is applied, they will hit point number C. By this experiment, Thomson measured the value of charge upon mass ratio. This ratio he found out was 1.75 into 10 raised to 11 coulomb per kilogram. For several purposes in physics and chemistry course, you will be needing this value. So please by heart, E upon M, charge upon mass ratio, is equal to 1.75 into 10 raised to 11 coulomb per kilogram. We need not remember the entire number, 1.75 is enough. Thomson did this experiment with different materials in the cathode ray tube, and he concluded that every cathode ray produced always has the same E upon M ratio. Thus he says that these cathode rays or these particles are universal constituents of all the atoms. And a scientist called Lorentz named these particles as electrons. So what people were calling earlier as cathode rays, now they are named as electrons. Charge on electron was found out separately by another person called Robert Millikan. He did another experiment by which charge on the electron was discovered. Charge on electron is 1.602 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. Now we have two values with us. We have charge upon mass ratio and we have separately value of charge. So charge upon mass ratio is this. Charge of electron is so much. So by calculation we can understand mass of electron. So when you read in any books mass of electron, understand it is found out simply by calculations, and nobody has actually taken an electron and actually found its weight. That's not possible. So here itself you must by heart three values for your exams: charge to mass ratio of electrons, charge of electron, and mass of electron. After the discovery of cathode rays, we go for discovery of canal rays, which led to discovery of protons. Canal rays were produced in quite a similar manner, but by modifying the instrument. Scientists made a similar tube, as you can see, but the only difference they made over here was the cathode was made perforated. Cathode was having holes. So from cathode towards anode, cathode rays are moving, which you can see denoted as minus sign. Oppositely charged particles, that is cations, will be moving on the opposite direction. Through these perforations, the positive particle travel on the opposite side. In the original experiment, the zinc sulfide was coated over here on this side, which shows the detection of canal rays. Properties of anode rays are quite similar to cathode rays, but they differ in few points. First, they will travel also in a straight line, but in direction opposite to that of cathode rays. They also get deflected by electric field, but they will get deviated towards negative electrode. They also will be deflected by magnetic field. They are also not visible, but just like cathode rays, they can be detected by zinc sulfide screen. Most important different point is their charge to mass ratio will depend upon which material you have taken in the tube, and it is not a constant like cathode rays. Lastly, we come to the discovery of neutrons. Among all the particles, most difficult particle to detect for scientists was neutrons. You can guess a reason for it. They do not have any charge. Since charge is not there, detection becomes very difficult. Whatever is charged, we can find it easily using electric and magnetic field. James Chadwick proved the presence of neutrons in 32. He did an experiment in which he bombarded boron and beryllium isotopes by alpha particles. The particles which were emitted were neutrons. So you can imagine a reaction like this. Boron is bombarded with alpha particle. Alpha particle is nothing but helium nuclei, which generated neutrons. Similarly, beryllium was also bombarded with alpha. To detect these neutrons, he made special arrangements. You can see the overall experiment here. Alpha particles, which are shown in green color here, are bombarding on beryllium foil, which produce neutron. These neutrons are captured by nitrogen gas, and they are later on detected by the detector here. The details of these experiments, of course, are not in our syllabus. Thus, neutrons were detected in a detector as shown here. After discovery of neutron, proton and electron, we now come to some very basic important terms. The first is atomic number. I am sure you must have heard this in school level. Atomic number is the number of unit positive charge present in the nucleus of an atom. Usually, atomic number is defined by many people as number of electrons in an atom. But remember, electrons can be modified because there is something called isotope. So the definition is now modified with respect to proton, that is positive charge. The symbol of atomic number is capital Z. Another term is mass number, and this is the sum of total number of protons and neutrons present in the nucleus of an atom. The symbol for this is capital A. Using atomic number and mass number, we have some more terms. First is isotopes. Isotopes are the atomic species of the same element having same atomic number but different mass number. For example, you can see here 8O16 is isotopic with 8O17, which is isotopic with 8O18. You can observe very well, atomic number of all these species is 8, but mass number differs. Similar second term is isobar, where they are atoms of different elements having same mass number but obviously different atomic number. So we can see an example here, 18 argon 40, 19 potassium 40 and 20 calcium 40. All these three have same mass number coincidentally but different atomic number. Let us compare the properties of isotopes and isobars. Isotopes will have same position in the periodic table. Naturally, because periodic table is based upon atomic number. Isotopes will have same chemical properties because chemical properties are based on electrons. Isobars, on the other hand, will have different position in periodic table, and their physical as well as chemical properties will be different. Isobars will possess even different number of protons, neutrons, and electrons.